Tonight, this campaign moves back to more favorable terrain. Tonight, this campaign moves back to Indiana and Nebraska and North Dakota and Montana and Washington and California.
That's all you need to know about where Ted Cruz's mind is today. Vowing to fight on, looking ahead to contests that are more favorable, promising to stay in this race and battle with Donald Trump for that nomination. Rick Perry is a supporter of Ted Cruz, former governor out of Texas, also a candidate this past year as well. Nice to see you in person.
Good to be with you, Bill.
Welcome back, and thank you for being here. How do you explain last night?
Nothing to explain. I mean, it's the Northeast. It's Donald Trump country. He did exactly what I expected him to do. Now the race goes to parts of the world that are not quite as favorable to a Donald Trump type of a campaign, and so this thing is not over with yet. You know, the road gets narrower, but it's like ending a football game in the 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. There's lots of.
You're going to hear, though, Governor, you're going to hear a lot about Indiana being like Wisconsin. And maybe there's some truth to that, Midwestern states, et cetera. But in Wisconsin, Ted Cruz had the backing of the Wisconsin Republican Party establishment that he rode to victory. So far in Indiana, those people have not stepped forward to support him.
And in Iowa, they didn't either. So, you know, I try not to get too tuned up that when you have governors or high-profile individuals who may not have weighed in. Endorsements are interesting things, but people make their decisions on their own, and I think that's what they're going to do here. The Indiana voter is going to look at, which one of these are consistent conservatives, which one of them's got the vision for this country, which one of them do they think really can go and shake up Washington, D.C. You know, all this talk about Donald Trump being an outsider, which he is, but Ted Cruz is not exactly the inside guy.
He has not been able to close the deal in that argument. And before you answer that, this is Cruz pulling up to Sarah's Pancake House, just south of Indianapolis there. So we're going to see him in a moment. But again, he has not been able to close that argument just yet. And perhaps he will not.
Well, the game's not over yet. So I go back to being able to stay in this fight, make the pitch to the end, if you will. And if it goes to a contested convention, then I think you've got a completely different environment there and that's how we've always done our elections. Now, they've always been decided well before a convention, but the fact is you become the Republican nominee by who the convention votes for. And if this is a contested convention, I think all bets are off that Donald Trump is the presumptive nominee.
Have you spoken to Ted Cruz about a contested convention in Cleveland? And I ask you that in the following frame. He led a filibuster on the floor of the Senate against his entire party. No Republican senator thought it was a good idea, but he did it anyway. I think in a cause that was probably ultimately a losing battle.
Well, Bill, I think this isn't about. It's not 60 senators or so that's going to make the decision in Cleveland. It's going to be Republican activists, people who have been chosen by their own parties to come to represent the Republican Party. That's how our rules are set up. And, you know, just because you don't like the rules are the rules. But the bottom line is, let's let the process work its way out.
How difficult will it be to put this party back together?
Oh, I don't think it's difficult at all. I mean, when you juxtaposition whoever our nominee is going to be with Hillary Clinton, reality is going to set in a hurry.
Not difficult at all.
I don't think so. I really don't. Listen, I've been in enough.
You can mend these fences practically overnight?
I don't know whether it's overnight, but these are Americans that care about where this country is going. And when you see the path that Hillary Clinton wants to take this country on versus the path that any of the three Republicans that are still in this, and it's going to be one of those three, then it becomes very, very clear that we come together, we work towards getting this country back on track economically, militarily, values-wise, and any of those three candidates are going to be head and shoulders above Hillary Clinton.
Democrats did it in 2008.
Indeed,
they were fractured deep into June, and they got together before the convention hit. Will you support Donald Trump as
Sure.
the Republican nominee?
And I've said it from the get-go. He's not my choice. Matter of fact, none of the three up there were my first choice. I was my first choice, but the American people, they made a clear decision that they didn't want a governor who had had the experience, that they were looking for somebody that was an outsider. And by and large, that's basically what we're going to have.
What do you think Trump speaks to? What are people hearing from him that they like?
People are really mad. People feel like that the system is rigged against them. The middle class is seeing their wealth, their standing being diminished. They know that their children aren't going to have as good a future as what they had, and they are mad about it. And you know, I understand that. From time to time, when we're mad, we make some irrational decisions, and you know, I think a little bit of that's going on when it sets in.
Irrational?
Irrational in the sense of, if you're getting on an airplane going to London, you want the pilot in the front left seat to be as experienced as you can have. If you have heart surgery, you want the most seasoned, experienced surgeon that you can find. I would have thought, in my dealing in government all these many years and being the governor of a very successful state, that you know, a Jeb Bush, a Bobby Jindal, a Scott Walker, a Rick Perry would have been one of those that would have been in the conversation at the end. But that's not what the American people want, and that's the irrational part of it. They're kind of like, we're a pox on all of your houses, you're out of here, we don't want you. If you've got anything to do with government, we've had it.
On that point, why do you think Trump has been able to vanquish at this point 14 of the other 16? That's a pretty talented shelf you just rattled off.
And he is an incredibly talented marketer. I mean, we've never seen anyone on the political stage, I will suggest to you, that has the talent to sell a brand the way Donald Trump does. Now, you know, selling a brand and delivering and being able to govern are two different things.
In a general election campaign, if your guy at the moment, Ted Cruz, loses to Donald Trump in the nomination battle, he will face Hillary Clinton. How does he do head-to-head?
Well, I think it's important for the country to really look at their visions, to look at who's talking about how we get this country back economically. Today, I heard an individual say the most important thing that we have to deal with in this country is immigration reform. That was an individual on the Democrat side. When you have the challenges that this country faces economically, this huge burden of taxes, of regulation, you need to have the focus on getting this country back economically, militarily.
Hold that thought. Thank you, Governor.